So, Kirby Superstar is considered one of, if not the best, Kirby game of all time. Yes, it is actually that popular. The Super Nintendo had some of the best games of all time, honestly, and a lot of people think that Kirby is one of those who peaked on the Super Nintendo. Not only that, but this is the last mainline Kirby game that Sakurai directed, the father of Kirby. I have to play this, right? Well, I have a few years back. Not through the entire game and somewhat casually, but I still played it. However, you aren't seeing footage from that game. No, this is a remake of said game, Kirby Superstar Ultra. Go beyond, am I right? Seriously though, for those of you who have played both, Ultra seems to be easily considered the better version. The art style has changed, which is a mark against it, but with so much more, this is a great version of said game. The only issue with this version is it's harder to have access to it. Unless you have a DS or a 3DS and have the game, you can't officially play it. But I still feel a need to cover this version of the game since it had a decent chunk of added content to it. So here I am to review this version of the game. It is time I looked into this collection of smaller games. Yeah, this is an arcade-like bunch of mini-adventures that I will defeat. Let's do it. Let's take on Marx. Time for a bit of a bullet round. Spring Breeze has King Dedede stealing all of Dreamland's food. Sound familiar? Yep, this is a remake of Kirby's Dream Land. A remake and a remake. Weird. Anyway, the plot is the same. Kirby goes and beats the crap out of King Dedede. Gourmet Race has you pitted against King Dedede in a race. I guess the king is tired of your shit as Kirby. However, Kirby ends up winning the race. Dynablade has the bird, also named Dynablade, wreaking havoc. Kirby chases after him and finds out that he is a she and a mother. Kirby helps feed the babies. Great Cave Offensive is Kirby entering a cave on a treasure hunt. That's basically it. Revenge of Meta Knight has Meta Knight tired of your crap. He busts out a powerful airship and literally tries to take over. He thinks Dreamland is lazy, so he flies in, and unfortunately for him, Kirby comes in and breaks his shiny new airship. Oops. In Milky Way Wishes, the sun and the moon are fighting. Some little clown tells Kirby to find a giant wishing comet. To find it, Kirby needs to bring the Pain and all these other planets and steal their power, summoning the pocket watch-like comet. Right before Kirby can wish for the sun and moon to stop fighting, however, Marx, the little clown, comes up and wishes for power. Kirby then absolutely destroys Marx, and in the remake, blows up the comet as well. New to the remake, we have Revenge of the King. Dedede is tired of your shit once more and remakes Kirby's Dream Land again, but much harder. Despite his new hammer, he's defeated. Also, first appearance of Bandana D in any story segment. Nice. Meta Nightmare Ultra is just Meta Knight replacing Kirby in the story segments of Superstar. The other game modes don't have much of a story. Still, the writing's fairly decent when, there is actually storytelling. It's just simple and whimsical, much like Kirby's Dream Land. Since most of these are roughly the size of that game, one of them being a remake of that game, it makes sense that the stories would be utterly simple, very similar to that game. They are entertaining in their own way, like a children's book. I like it, and it works well with the game. Kirby games are heavily known for their charm, and while not the only thing a game needs, you can sell interactive media on charm alone. The only thing that the remake doesn't have is a slightly more appealing and unique art style that the original game does actually have. Instead, the remake borrows heavily from Nightmare and Dreamland and all the games sharing this art style. However, while a downgrade, it isn't super bad. I like the Nightmare and Dream style art style, so I think it is okay. I will admit that the original looks better though. But here we have 3D cutscenes now. They look great if you squint your eyes. They're small in the DS and don't look as great blown up on YouTube though, so oops. Also, the music, top notch. I don't know which one sounds better per se, but both sound really good, so there you go. It could have been handled better with the, less than unique art style, but I still think it does pretty well here. So this game is actually a fair amount different from previous Kirby games when it comes to the gameplay. It still trimmed the fat from adventure, but not in the same way Dreamland 2 did. Instead, this game gives each copy ability a fighting style of sorts. Nothing too complicated by any means, but copy abilities have more than one move. This combines moves that were alike from Kirby's Adventure into one copy ability. Easy to grasp, a bit more challenging to master, but still pretty easy to grasp. There are still some copy abilities that are similar in concept, but are far different in fighting style, which is great. Then there are some new abilities like Yo-Yo Kirby or Mirror Kirby that are unique and fun to use. My favorite being Yo-Yo Kirby. My least favorite is Jet. I'm just not a big fan of it. Tad bit harder to control than the others. Still, overall, Kirby controls just fine in this game, and is even more fun to control thanks to the added depth in all of the abilities. Meta Knight is also back and playable. He controls much like he did in Nightmare and Dreamland. The main difference is he has a few new moves. Meta Knight gains power from slaying foes. The more points he gets from killing foes, the more powerful the moves he has access to. He can summon a friend, boost his speed, heal, which is practically broken and not many points to use, and lastly, he can do a powerful tornado that is more or less a screen nuke. It kills any small enemy and some bosses in one go. Super powerful, super useful. Overall, Meta Knight is still fun to play. So is Kirby. Both have improved a decent amount since we last seen them. Good job, boys! When it comes to the level design, some of the boss concepts do repeat here and there, but the levels are all very different. Yep, the levels in the Great Cave Offensive are far different than the levels from Milky Way Wishes. Shockingly, none of them are bad either. They are mostly memorable and fun to play. They all have their own unique quirks. Some of the more memorable levels for me is one where you have to switch the seasons in Milky Way Galaxy to find secrets and pass the level. Meanwhile, in Great Cave Offensive, there's a fun little castle underground to explore for treasure. Also, while some of the boss fights are in multiple different modes, some are also very unique to their modes too. Marx, for example, the final boss of the original Superstar, so to speak, only shows up in the boss rush and the Milky Way Wishes at the end. The new content, however, does reuse some levels. Revenge of the King is a remake of Kirby's Dream Land. That is kind of a tongue twister. It is far more challenging, and the designs and colors are different from the original game, so it does look different at first, but the basic design is pretty similar. All the enemies, though, are replaced with more challenging counterparts that take more damage to deal with. The King Dedede boss fight at the end is also pretty great as well. They even added back Kabuki. Welcome back, dude. Last but not least, when playing as Meta Knight, all the levels are pretty much repeats. You basically play through the original Superstar, but with Meta Knight. Same bosses excluding the end boss. You end up facing off against Galactonite instead of Marx. Fun fight if I'm honest. All in all though, the gameplay is a complement really well to the levels they've made. And there's so many original levels and it's so fun! Oh my gosh, I love it. I really do. So I didn't quite get everything here. First off, there really isn't much in the way of side quests. It's mostly improving your score on games. Great Cave Offensive has you collecting treasure. You can go for 100% and get them all, but it doesn't really do much outside of an improved score. Milky Way Wishes has you collecting powers instead of stealing them from enemies. You can find every copy ability and play with them, forever switching on the fly. The more you play, the more modes you unlock. The only thing secret would be the true arena for beating every other mode. I didn't do this, but it basically has a harder version of each boss, including Marx, whose dead body returns as Mark's soul. Again, I didn't manage to get footage of this, but it is something for true completionists out there. I also didn't get to play the mode that has you playing as the helper character either. Anytime Kirby can undo a copy ability in favor of gaining a helper character as an assist. Meta Knight kind of does the same thing. I used it a lot with him. You can also use this as a co-op method on the original game, but you have to hook up two DSs here, which is a bit trickier. Regardless, I think this is all okay. Unlocking harder and harder challenges is a fine way to bring more to the game. However, most of the stuff isn't in the original game. Yeah, the true arena or the game mode with the helper characters aren't even in the original version of the game. All the original game had was the arena and the Marx battle. This means there's less secrets to find in the original game. While I didn't unlock all the secrets, I do want to at some point in Ultra. I can see why this is declared the better version by far. So the original game is pretty good if I'm honest. I know I didn't record the original game, but I have played it here and there. I think the original is great. It's a solid entry in the Kirby series that had a lot of fun elements but is lacking on side content. However, the remake, Ultra, is a better experience, upgrading it from great to amazing. See, Ultra here has more content to unlock in general, and while it won't be everyone's cup of tea, like beating the helper mode with every helper character to unlock one bonus, it is fun. Honestly, if there was more of a reason to go after the treasures and powers in some of the modes, and actually completing them, I'd have ranked it a masterpiece. That would be an 8 out of 10 for Superstar, and a 9 out of 10 for Ultra, in case anybody is wondering. 10 out of 10 being the masterpiece, but it didn't quite get that. Still, this game is great regardless, and I highly recommend you check it out. Even if you can only get to the original version, which is available on the Wii, the Kirby Collection on the Wii U, the Switch, the SNES Classic Edition, and of course, the Super NES. The Ultra version, which is the better version in my opinion, can only be played with the original DS cartridge on a DS or 3DS. If you can, go for Superstar Ultra, but if you only get a hold of Superstar, it's still worth checking out and is more widely available. Regardless, that's all the time I have for this review. This one was a weird one because of the setup of the game, but I think I did okay. If you liked it, like, subscribe, comment, check out my profile for more Kirby reviews. Until then, I should be working on Majora's Mask next, but next month is March. Mario Day. Maybe it is time to work on some Mario content. I started working on 2D Mario reviews last year, so maybe I should start working on that. Until next time, my minions, take care. Ha 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 ha.